In a not-too-distant cyberpunk 80s-inspired world, a great and devious insectoid evildoer hatches a nefarious plan to create a legion of undead minions and unleash them on an unsuspecting world. Who or what can stand against such odds? Who will stop this evil mastermind? A bunch of ants, of course. Yes, I said a bunch of ants.
Brown. Right now, you're watching the OMG podcast. Now recognize that. Thank you.
Welcome everybody to the OMG Wrestling Podcast. This is Tony Pizza Guy, joined with my guest, my co-host with the most, Chase. Chase, how's it going?
Very, very nice. Beautiful weather today.
It is a beautiful day. It's a nice Saturday. I think I'm going to go out and enjoy my Saturday as well. But we do have great guests on the show today. We have Rotary Games, who is making Rudo Resurrection, which is a Chikara beat-em-up style game. And they currently have a Kickstarter going on, but we are going to be talking with two of the developers of the game, Jesse and Matt. They are nice enough to join us here, and it was a good interview. I enjoyed this interview. It's wrestling in video games are my passion, as you guys know from my YouTube channel, but it's a treat to talk to them. We also want to let you guys know we do have a website, again, omgwrestling.com. That's the best way you could support us, but there's a new way to support us, Chase. I know you're super excited about this because you've been talking about it for a while, but we do have a t-shirt store now. We're now on prowrestlingtees.com.
Boom.
Which is great. We have I have a couple of designs from my just Tony Pizza Guy ones, and then I have the OMG Wrestling Podcast shirt, which we finally have that shirt so I can wear it to wrestling events. And
yeah, and I recommend you guys, if you get them, and then that way it'll be easier for us to spot you at local independent wrestling shows if you're wearing the OMG Podcast t-shirts or the Tony Pizza Guy t-shirts.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you wear the OMG Podcast shirt because the thing is we only have a limited spot until we sell a certain amount of shirts. So doing that will up more designs. And we have so many awesome ideas for t-shirts. I know Chase threw me like 5 designs one day. He's like, hey, we should do this one, this one, this one, and this one. I'm like, all right, we'll slow down a minute because we have to meet our little threshold. I don't know what it is, but we have to have a certain amount. But yeah, prowrestlingtees.com/Tony Pizza Guy. Link will be in the description. We can check it out. We'll get some cool designs. I know. You want to tell what kind of designs you're working on?
Well, I was working on some that was like whole ref and show. So if you're a referee out there or you just love to support the referees, it's a parody of RVD's t-shirt. We have a pro wrestler in training t-shirt, a Tyler Breeze t-shirt with his face and it says gorgeous underneath it. Plenty of cool other designs like I'm with Jobber and those kind of things. Yeah,
for sure. That's awesome. I can't wait to get those up. But we have to pimp out the ones we have now, so go over there, check it out. And I think, why don't we just get right into the interview now? Does this sound like a plan?
Epic interview. Here we go. You guys better listen.
All right, we are joined by Rotary Games here. Jesse and Matt, you said?
Yep.
All right, awesome. How are you guys doing today?
Doing very well. Thanks for having us on the podcast, guys. We appreciate it.
Thanks for reaching out for me. I think you followed me on Twitter or something, and then that's how I caught your attention.
Yeah, we actually met Chase at the Chikara show on May 25th. Actually, came up to us and was real cool talking about the game and stuff. And he said that he did the show with you. So we did a little investigating and so we figured we'd follow you guys and been watching the podcast since. So really dig what you guys do.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, anytime we can
Awesome.
help promote anybody, that's what we're all about. That's kind of our little Saturday show here, is just to bring on a guest, promote them, and the game looks awesome though. So how did you get into making games?
Well, I'll go first. This is Jesse, and I've been doing it for almost 10 years now. The funny thing is, I actually was selling video games on eBay before I got into the game industry, and I was kind of sick of dealing with customers and selling games, and I was like, you know what, I just want to make them. So I started doing a little bit of research and found out that, you know, I live in the Boston area, and the Boston area is actually really good for the game industry. It's actually a little bit different now than it was about 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, there's tons of big studios out this way. Now it's sort of shifted a little bit, and there aren't quite as many larger studios, but a lot of mid to indie sized studios going on around the area now. And so, you know, I just started out as a QA tester. I got a job doing QA, and just worked my way up from there and became a designer within a year, and I've been doing design for about 8 years. And the companies I worked at were Stainless Steel Studios, which did a lot of real-time strategy type games. And then I worked at Turbine, and then I worked at 38 Studios, and then back to Turbine for a little bit. And now we're doing the Rotary Games gig here.
Yeah, and for me, I started. When I was in school for animation, you know, I didn't really want to leave the East Coast. A lot of animation is out on the West Coast or in the Florida area because of Disney. So I was just looking at what was available down here. I was playing a game called Asheron's Call and was really probably more into it in college than I should have been. Massive multiplayer games are addictive that way.
Yeah, of course.
And found out that they were here. Another of my favorite studios, Looking Glass Studios, who did the Thief of the Dark project and System Shock games, they were in the area. So after I graduated, I started looking for a job down here in the Boston area. Ended up starting at Turbine as a production artist and transitioned over into lead design and management roles all the way up through. And then I'd been doing some freelance design for the past year or so. And when Jesse and Jared and the rest of the Rotary group were looking to start up another studio, you know, I saw that as a good opportunity to do something new, give something new a try.
Cool. So, what do you like about doing independent games as opposed to doing like a big studio game?
Well, I think the big thing is freedom. You know, I'm so used to the AAA studios or working at studios, and it's just the freedom to do whatever you want and to wear so many different hats. So whereas before I was just a designer, that's it. That's all I did. I did design. Now I'm writing, you know, all these documents. I'm writing style guides. I'm doing marketing. I'm doing PR. I'm doing stuff on the business end of things. And like we just have to wear so many different hats. So it's always new and different and exciting. It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot we have to do, but it's very rewarding and very gratifying when you can like get something out there and get people to see what you're doing and that they actually dig what you're doing. So I think it's just pretty much the freedom to do whatever we want, and also just to get better at a lot of different things. I'm not just a designer anymore. I'm doing all sorts of stuff, and to me that's very desirable, and and I get to just work on all these different skills that I have and build them up.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of us. You know, we all come from either an art or design background, and that was really all we did. You know, our artists were just artists, our animators were just animators, our designers were just designers. There's a lot more flexibility in a smaller studio, in part because it's necessary. Like everyone's got to wear the extra hats. You know, for me, it's been a great opportunity to continue practicing my core skill set, level design, but also branch out a little bit into PR and marketing asset creation, doing a little bit of scripting and fake programmer work on the side as well. It's nice too because with a smaller studio, you don't run into the kind of roadblock of decision making that larger studios have. You know, when it comes time to make a big decision, there are just so many stakeholders and so many other groups and departments and whatnot that are impacted by even the smallest decision that you can spend a lot of time just trying to figure out what to do next. With a smaller group, it's a lot easier to just decide on a change and make it happen.
So where'd you guys discover Chikara?
I'm a big wrestling fan. I have been since I was a kid. So that's why I dig what you guys are doing. I tune in and just hear you guys talk about what's going on in the world of wrestling. So, but so I've been a fan forever. And I think it was around 2009, 2010. I went to a Dragon Gate USA show, and I saw the Chikara had a match on there. They had like a Chikara like 8-man Atomicos match or something like that. And I'd heard a little bit about Chikara before that, but I was like blown away by that. I can't remember exactly who was in the match. I think it was like the Colony and like Jigsaw and Hallowicked and Quackenbush and guys like that. And I was just blown away by the style, because I've been a big fan of the strong style Japanese lucha stuff like that. And Chikara seems to take this it's like an amalgamation of all these different styles. And it's like you take some of the Japanese style, some of the Mexican style, some of the American style, and even some of the British style, put it in a blender, and throw a couple comic books in there, and and that's sort of what you get. And it just really appealed to me because I'm a huge fan of comic books, a huge fan of wrestling, and it just really hit that sweet spot for me. It reminded me a lot of Michinoko Pro back in the early to mid 90s, before Taka Michinoku and Funaki and the Kaientai guys came over to WWF. Reminded me of that a lot, and that was some of my favorite wrestling. So, I was really into that. And then Chikara did a couple shows up here in the New England area, and I was like, all right, I'll go check it out. I really enjoyed that match. So went and saw one show, I think it was Springfield, Massachusetts in 2009 or something like that. And I was just blown away. They were playing this really crappy venue where nobody could do high flying moves without hitting their head on the ceiling, that type of thing. And it was one of the smaller rings too. So, but they just put on such a great show. It was so much fun. There's so much crowd interaction, and I was just blown away by the cool characters. It reminded me of late 80s, early 90s WWE, and but it was plus some, because it took advantage of a lot of the Mexican and Japanese mask gimmicks and stuff that they did. So I just had a blast. And then I found out they were doing a show the next day in Nashua, New Hampshire. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't have anything to do. I'll go check out the other show. And so ever since then, I've just been a huge fan of Chikara, and I've gone to see tons of shows live. I'll even drive down to Pennsylvania to check them out sometimes, or New York, or, wherever, not just here in the Boston area. So I've seen a bunch of shows, and, I took away from that. Well, it was this cool, interactive, fun feeling. And, since then, I just had the idea, and I was like, man, this would be so much fun to make a game out of these characters. And, I didn't necessarily want to do a straight up wrestling game, because as I'm sure you guys have talked about ad nauseum, there's not that many great wrestling games out there these days. There used to be a glut of them. There was tons of great ones back in the N64 days. And, and nowadays, the 2K games are pretty good. But there's no way we can contend with that with a small team. And we also wanted to really take advantage of our strengths, and our strengths were, storytelling and taking advantage of 3D environments. And so we just, we talked about it, and we thought that doing a beat 'em up would be a great way to utilize the cast of Chikara characters. And it would just be a fun way to do it. We'd be able to tell stories. We'd be able to utilize next-gen technology using the Unreal 4 engine, and just seemed like the perfect marriage. And, they were very receptive to it, and, they're very open to it, and have been great to work with. So that's sort of where the idea came from, and how I get into Chikara wrestling. And, we're still fans to this day, obviously. I met you, Chase, at the Chikara show on May 25th. So still digging the show, still love them just as much as I always have.
Yeah, so did you reach out to them then, as you were saying?
Well,
Yeah.
I was walking by. They had a bunch of these tables set up, and I was like, "Hey, this looks like a video game." And then I just asked them what it was about, and told them that I could help them out, because they had their little sign-up sheet there for the Kickstarter. So I just was like, "Well, I'm a co-host of a podcast, so I could help you guys out."
Yeah, absolutely. And that was really cool meeting Chase and just hanging out. We met a lot of great people that day, a lot of people that have been supporting us, whether it's through pledging or just by, sharing the links and letting people know about it. So it's been a really good response so far.
Yeah, I did want to go back to that question though. How did you reached out to them then to make the game, or how did that all work out?
Yeah. I actually, I was doing some research, and what I did was I pitched an idea to the folks at Chikara and was just like, hey, I have this idea for this game. What do you guys think? And then I heard back, and they're like, yes, let's do this. This sounds like a great idea. And so we just have been going back and forth and working out the logistics of it. And since then, it's just been great to work with them the whole way, because they were very receptive to the idea. They obviously want to continue to grow their brand as well. Chikara is certainly not a household name, but they've been growing. They've been around for like 12 or 13 years now, and each year they've continued to get bigger and bigger. And like at the last show, there was like, I think 1,500 people there. So they're having some pretty big shows. They're selling out. They just sold out in Chicago, I guess. So they added a second show out there. So they're doing really well. And I think they're sort of at their height of popularity. And, they certainly want to get even bigger. And I think they see this as an opportunity to, hey, we can have a video game and potentially introduce the Chikara brand to a whole new group of people. So it really benefited both parties, because we're working with a license that is pre-existing, and then there's people who want to buy this. There's people who want to play Chikara characters. So in that case, it benefits us, and also for them just to get the word out there and let more people in the world know about Chikara. So it really is a great relationship all around.
Yeah, for sure. There definitely are like that comic book style fits the type of game that you're making. And I do want to give you a chance to tell people a little bit about the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rudo Resurrection is the name of the game. I think we mentioned it, but just wanted to get it out there. And so what we're doing right now, we've been working on the game for roughly about a month and a half to 2 months now. And so what we did was, when we started the studio, we figured it'd be a great idea to get the game playing community, tied into this right away from the beginning. So what we did was we built a prototype and a proof of concept. And once we had that ready, we wanted to bring it to the people and say, and that's why we're doing the Kickstarter, because first of all, to make a game, as I'm sure you guys know, any creative endeavor takes money. I know you guys obviously have to pay for the podcast, the hosting, and all that sort of thing. So,
right.
So to do stuff like that, I mean, anything takes money, any creative endeavor. So first and foremost, in order to do this, we need some funding. So second of all, though, we wanted to build the game with the game playing community, get feedback from them very early on, and just really get a feel for what they wanted, so we can make the game for the people who want to play it, as opposed to making the game and then putting it out there, and then people will be like, oh, well, I didn't want this. This is stupid, or this is terrible. That's why we wanted to get it out there nice and early, be very open and honest and transparent about our development process, and just really work with the fans to make the best possible game we can. And obviously, we're at the end of the day, we make all the decisions, but we want to get input from a lot of different people. So that's sort of what the idea was behind this. So that's why we're doing the Kickstarter. And so the game, it's a 2.5D side-scrolling beat 'em up. So when you guys think of like the old school games that I grew up playing, games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade, X-Men Arcade, Double Dragon, Streets of Rage, games like that. And then even more recently, games like Castle Crashers, the Shank series, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, games like that. So we're really, I was really influenced by those older games as a kid, and I still love what they're doing with the genre. So we just thought it was a perfect opportunity to take the Chikara wrestlers and put them into this style of game, and it just seemed to fit perfectly. So one of the big game mechanics we're touting is trios. So obviously, if you guys have seen Chikara, you know that they're famous for their trios matches. Yep. So instead of having lives in the game, you basically pick a trio. So instead of you die, you come back and you have another life. But in this case, you pick 3 wrestlers. You can tag them in and out as you want as you make your way through. And if one guy gets incapacitated, he's out until you revive him. And that's essentially sort of your lives in this game. Is you get to pick a trio. And at the start of the game, you get to start with the colony. So you'll have Fire Ant, you'll have Silver Ant, and you'll have Worker Ant. And those are the 3 that you start out with. And as you make your way through the game, you'll unlock more characters. And as you unlock them, you'll be able to make your own trios, basically. So, we also announced that Hallowicked is going to be one of the playable characters. So, for instance, if you unlock Hallowicked, you want to have Hallowicked, Fire Ant, and Worker Ant, then, cool, you can pick your own trio at the very beginning, and you make your way through. And a little bit about the story. What we're doing is it's an Elseworlds. So for those of you not familiar with what an Elseworlds is, it's DC Comics term for stories that are told out of continuity. So it doesn't necessarily play with the current continuity. And the reason we chose this is people may be playing this game a year or two from now, and it's Chikara changes their story. Things evolve and change, and there's no way we could keep it current and keep it so that we're always following what they're doing with the story. That'd be really difficult for us. So we decided to just set it in this sort of this time where Ultramantis Black is like the main Rudo, or the main villain. And so what he's doing, he's trying to basically seize control of Chikara and the world, basically. So he uses his dark magic and starts resurrecting all these deceased Chikara wrestlers, the ones from the past that are no longer around, and cloning them. So, and now he has this huge army at his disposal and is basically trying to take over the world now. So as you start out, you have the colony to choose from, and you can unlock wrestlers as you go, like I stated. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do with this. And we're trying to push the genre of side-scrolling beat-em-ups forward a little bit and do something just a tiny bit different, but paying homage to the classics as well.
Yeah, for sure. The first time I looked at it, I think it reminded me of the Turtles in Time remake they made for Xbox Live. It's exactly the kind of graphic style that I got the feel for that game.
Awesome. That's certainly not a bad thing to hear.
No, definitely. I do love the art style. That's the one thing that caught me right away with that game.
Oh, that's great to hear, because we wanted to go with a comic book feel. We're like, it's gonna support the license so well, because that's what it is Chikara is sort of like a live action comic book, and it seems to fit perfectly, and that fits right into our wheelhouse with the artists and everyone we have on board. It just fit perfectly. So it was just a great match to go with that.
Yeah. One of the things that I think a lot of the, artists especially, but everyone on the team was really excited about with the style is because a lot of what we've been building for the past, 5, 7, 10 years have all been more, attempts at photorealism, super high detail. And there wasn't a lot of opportunity to just like play visually because we had certain level of fidelity, AAA quality style, Call of Duty style graphics that we'd have to build around. And this is an opportunity for us to, play with something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more exciting and kinetic than we've had the opportunity to in the past, which everyone is really excited about.
Yeah, I did want to ask you guys, so working for like independent company, is that a little more hectic since you are not getting funding from a big company and you are funding from just the fans, or how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's scary, because in the past, working for big studios, you don't have to worry. I mean, you have benefits, you're getting paid, you have a salary, and unless you get laid off, like that's the only thing you have to worry about, really. But when you're working for a big studio, it's like all right, everything's taken care of. I don't have to worry about anything. So for us right now, we're actually not getting paid. We're just doing this because we want to make this game right now, and that's the reason why we're going to Kickstarter, because we need to pay for licensing, we need to pay for software, for hardware, and we also need to pay our bills. That's part of it. So we're certainly not taking we're taking a very modest salary just so enough to make the game, basically. So that's one of the things. The big difference is it's scary. I mean, it's really exciting, and we're having a ton of fun doing this, but we don't know where our money's going to come from. So that's pretty scary. We are talking to some other publishers as well and trying to see, if in addition to Kickstarter, we're hoping to potentially get a deal with any of the publishers out there. So we're certainly keeping all of our options open and interested in any funding opportunities that come our way. But we figured that Kickstarter would be the perfect first avenue to go down to try to get this made.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Kickstarter? What kind of rewards do you have for people that do pledge?
Sure. Yeah, we have a bunch out there. Obviously, the first one is if you just want to help game development and you don't really care about getting anything, you can obviously pledge as much as you want. Anywhere from $1 to whatever. It starts at $1 and goes up from there. So if you're interested in helping out, you can any amount will certainly help. But from there, we still have just a couple left. Actually, as of right now, we have 8 left of our first tier. That's the early backer price. So if you want just a copy of the game, we have like the early backer. You pay $10 for it and you get a copy of the game. And so we have 8 of those left. But beyond that, there's the price that we're going to charge for the game is $15. So once those are gone, then it goes up to $15. If you just want to purchase the game, $15. If you want the game and a copy of the soundtrack, which will feature music by a band called the Deadites. The Deadites have actually done music for some of the Chikara wrestlers, and they're an electronic band that have been around for a while now, and they're doing all the music from the trailers is done by the Deadites. So that'll be a digital copy of the soundtrack. We just added two more reward tiers. We're doing a Trios 3-pack. So basically, you get 3 copies of the game for the price of 2. So we're basically giving you for $30, you get 3 copies of the game, and it goes up from there. You can get stuff like an art book, a PDF of like we'll basically give you like an art book of like a lot of the concept art, a lot of the early art that we have, and some of the 3D assets. We're going to make a nice PDF out of that. We're also giving away early access. So if you want to play the game before it's officially released, we're giving out access to that. That's a $50 pledge. And then it goes up from there. We have 2 tiers for T-shirts. There's a Rudo Resurrection exclusive T-shirt just for this, and then also a Rotary Games T-shirt. And those tiers are both $75 each. And if you're going with any of these tiers, you're getting most of the stuff that comes before it. So for instance, if you go with that tier, the $75 tier, you're getting the shirt, you're getting the PDF art book, you're getting the digital soundtrack, you're getting a copy of the game. So typically when we go up, you're getting everything that comes before it. And we're also giving away a poster. If you want to get we're calling it the Atomicos pack, you can get 8 copies of the game for $125 if you want to go ahead and get one for you and a bunch of your friends. And you're basically getting 2 copies for free with that. And it just goes from there. For $150, you get a signed poster, so an exclusive poster signed by the entire Chikara roster and by the developers at Rotary Games. We also have in-game credits for $250. You basically get everything that came before it, and you get your name in the credits as a high flyer. We have these special categories. There's also the technician. You get 4 official Chikara store T-shirts. You get the in-game credit. And you get everything else that came before it. That's $350. Then we're getting up into the higher tier ones. We actually have an exclusive party with Chikara wrestlers and members of the Rotary Games team. And we actually, when we put that out, we didn't know exactly when it was going to be, but it turns out that it's going to be at King of Trios. We can confirm that now. So if anyone buys into that tier, that's the $500 tier. If anyone buys into that, you can attend an exclusive party at King of Trios. So if you're going to make it to King of Trios in Easton, Pennsylvania, September, I think it's 19th, 20th, and 21st, that weekend. I'm not quite sure exactly what day it'll be, but there'll be an exclusive party, and we'll have the game there for people to play, the demo, stuff like that. And just goes up from there. You can get an NPC version of yourself in the game. So if you want to get yourself in the game, you basically will send us a picture, and we'll produce a 3D asset of you, and we'll put you in the game as an NPC. You won't be a playable character, but you'll be in the background, and you'll show up in a couple different places throughout the game. We also have the Grand Champion. This is getting up into the pricey ones. This is $2,500 for this tier, and basically you get to help us design a boss in the game. We'll give you a list of several Chikara characters to choose from, and you get to choose which one and help us design their skills and attacks and stuff like that. So that's a pretty cool one, because if you're a longtime fan of Chikara, you want to see someone like, I don't know, some of the ones we have on the list are like Dragon, US Ape, Private Eye, guys like some of the old school guys like that. You get to basically come in, consult with us, pick one of the ones that you want to see, and then also help us to determine what some of the skills and attacks they're going to have. So that's a pretty cool one. And then the coup de grace, the final one, is the King of Trios, and you basically get everything else that comes before that, and an exclusive handcrafted statuette of Ultramantis Black that's going to be like limited and numbered, and that one's $5,000. So it's a little pricey, but we have we have a really awesome artist ready to sort of jump on that if anyone buys into that tier.
And you just released the new combat trailer, and I thought it looked incredible. I saw a lot more moves than I did in the other trailers. You had Inziguris, and I really like that one boss fight mechanic, how he throws them into the train. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. We've been working pretty hard on that. Because when we released the original video, we knew it was a bit of a risk. We had very elementary combat in there, and so we knew we were taking a risk. But we wanted to get it out there and show people what we were doing. But we also thought it would be cool to actually show marked improvement. So so from the first video to the one we just released, I think people can see that we're actually working on this and putting a lot of work into it and making it better. And that was one of the big things we wanted to show. And yeah, we got a bunch more animations. We got some, some enziguris. There's some forearms. There's like a back fist in there. There's a couple other cool things, and we have a bunch more planned. Those are the ones we were able to get in for that video. But we got a bunch more planned. We got like Fire Ant has his special his fireball mechanic. He blows a fireball and like basically sets a whole crowd of zombies on fire. So. Aside from the actual in-ring moves that they perform, we have some crazy ones too that they're going to do, and that's going to be like their special move. I don't know if you guys ever played Injustice: Gods Among Us, the DC fighting game, or
yes, that game is amazing.
Yeah, we wanted to have off the wall. I mean, they're not going to be as crazy as that, where you take your opponent up to the sky and like punch him down to the earth, But there's going to be crazy stuff that they wouldn't actually do in a ring, like Fire Ant blows like this huge fireball, and we got some other crazy ones planned too. So just doing some nuts stuff like that.
Yeah, there are certainly a number of us that, in addition to really liking comic books, really enjoying like the Capcom series style fighting games, where they just where they're completely okay with going over the top. And Chikara seems like an environment where it is completely okay to go over the top with some pretty awesome moves. Full screen, filling, explosions, awesomeness.
Yeah, for sure. Chikara definitely is over the top. That's the one thing I know for sure. I remember they did a baseball game in the middle of the ring. I mean, can't get more over the top than that.
Yeah, I was at that show. That was the one in Nashua, New Hampshire, actually. It was crazy.
That's awesome. That's great. But yeah, Chikara seems like a great fit to make a video game. It just makes sense that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I'm a huge fan of wrestling, and this style of game wouldn't necessarily work with like, just throwing out there like Ring of Honor or CZW or any other ones like that, because it's just, it's more a little bit more serious and not off the wall, and it's not a comic book feel to it. Those would probably be better served to have an actual wrestling game made for them. But this was perfect, and we figured it would just be like a totally different thing. This is something that's never been done before, as far as I know. I mean, I don't know that any wrestling promotions have had a game that was anything but a wrestling game. I think TNA had like a role playing game, but that was sort of like in the ring, things like that. But I think this is something that's a little bit different, and that's been done before. So we're excited to see where it goes.
How have the wrestlers reacted to the game?
Oh man, like everyone's super excited. When we at the show on the 25th of May, when we were there, we got a chance to hang out with a lot of the wrestlers, and like Fire Ant was so fired up to see, no pun intended, of course, to see him, to play as himself and see himself in the game. And, and Dasher Hatfield came over and was so excited about it. And we talked to a bunch of them, and we even got threatened by the Devastation Corporation. They were like, "You're going to put us in this game, right?" And we're like, "You guys are much bigger than us." So they were totally like stoked about it. And some of the people, like for instance, Worker Ant has been tweeting about it like every day. He's like, "Hey, you guys got to get us in the game." So they've been really, really helpful and really awesome. And even like, even some of the Chikara fans have like been tweeting like crazy. Like some people are tweeting every day about it, and retweeting every single tweet we put out there. And so this show of support is not just the wrestlers, it's the fans and even the people like in Chikara. Like it's been awesome. So we just got to get the word out there a little bit more. We're doing all right, but we got a week to go, and we're about 33% of the way. So we got a lot of ground to make up, but we know anything's possible, and we got a lot of stuff planned within the next week. So I mean, obviously you guys having us on is awesome, and we know you guys have a very dedicated, awesome fan base as well. So hopefully those people will dig what we're up to, and will consider going to the Kickstarter and helping out. And if anyone wants to help out, they can just go to Kickstarter and just search for Rudo, RUDO, and we're the only thing that pops up. So giving the links is sometimes unwieldy and long. But if you just go to Kickstarter and look for Rudo, we'll pop right up.
Cool. Do you guys also have a website or Twitter, Facebook, any of that you want to promote as well?
Oh yeah, sure. We're on all that stuff. So like with anyone these days, you sort of have to be. So on Twitter, we're at Rotary Games. Our website is rotary-games.com. On Facebook, let me just double check. I know it's something a little different. I think it's. Do you remember what that is, Matt? I'll look it up. It's actually it's rotary.games.studio. But if you just do a search on Facebook for Rotary Games, we'll probably pop right up. Yeah. So we're on the social media. We're mostly hitting up Twitter. That's the one that we probably post on the most. And obviously on Twitch TV we're doing regular streams on Twitch. So there we're Rotary_Games. And also on YouTube we have a YouTube channel. It's Rotary Games. So pretty much Rotary Games. Just do a search.
Cool. So I was going to say, so currently you're just scheduled for Steam release for this game? Is that your main goal at this point?
Yeah, right now, and that was another thing I forgot to bring up. Thanks for bringing that up, Tony. We're actually on Steam Greenlight as well. So, we're hoping to get Greenlight. We've had a lot of support so far, so I don't see a reason why it won't happen. But if you guys, any listeners are out there on Steam, we're on Steam Greenlight, and if you want to go ahead and throw us a vote, we'd appreciate it. So just do a search for Rudo Resurrection on Steam. But yeah, that's the hope, is that we'll be on Steam, and then that's how we're hoping to do for the people who buy into the tier where they get early access. We're gonna hopefully do that all through Steam, do the early access there so people can play it early. And obviously Steam is such a great platform that it's perfect for us. So that's our hope, is get on Steam. And then beyond that, we have stretch goals, in the Kickstarter. And even if we don't hit the stretch goals, we're still going to investigate doing these things. But it's certainly all dependent on funding. But we want to get on all the consoles. We want to get on the PlayStation Network. We want to get on Xbox Live Arcade. So we're definitely targeting those. But to do that, it's a matter of funds, obviously. But the hope is that we're going to be on consoles and on PC, and we'll be out there for on all the different platforms for people to play.
Yeah, cool. I was gonna ask you. There are some companies out there that do like an alpha release, and then they build from there. Do you guys consider that an option as well? Because I know you said you like to keep the fans updated on how the game's going. Is that something you've thought of?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't officially said like, yes, we're definitely going to do an alpha release, but at this point, from taking our core tenets and our company MO, that's something we definitely want to do, is to get the fans involved and the fans playing it as early as possible. So when we have a build that's playable and that we feel comfortable with, I'm sure that's something that we'll want to get out there, and because that's what it's all about. It's about making the best game we possibly can. And because we are a small studio, it's not like we can hire a ton of QA testers, so there's also that aspect of it where we want to make sure we release a fun game that's bug free, or as bug free as possible. So getting it out there and getting people to test it is obviously going to help us do that. And plus we can get the feedback from them very early on as well. And I know, I'm sure Matt agrees, like that's something, we've both worked in MMOs for a very long time, and that's a huge part of what we did working on massively multiplayer games. Was you get it out there on the beta servers, you get a lot of feedback, and then you can integrate it and make the official release even better.
Oh yeah, that was one of the best parts about working in an MMO where you're doing regular updates, is you get that feedback and then you can address that feedback in a very short amount of time. Working on a project that doesn't quite exist in that online environment, you don't get the same feedback loop. But with Greenlight and an alpha release, I think we get close to that kind of environment that we're all used to and we all really enjoyed. It gave us a lot of opportunity to interact with the gamers as well, see what they did like, what they didn't like. I think a lot of us are very community focused just by virtue of our background.
What was the hardest mechanic to get in the game?
Probably
depends on who you ask.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and answer that one, Matt?
Well, I mean, right now I'm working on camera features, so that's what's bending my mind right now, trying to figure out how to get the features I want without having to, break out the code to do it. I know a lot of people, I think our crowning achievement right now is getting the combat to where we have it right now. That's something that we've been working on. Jared in particular, has been kind of burning the candles on both ends to improve it and get it where we want it. But really, everyone has, each individual working on this project kind of has their own, pet feature that, that's theirs and that they're, really wanting to see in and really working hard to try to get it in, whether it's, combat or, compelling interactives. That's another thing that's on my plate to start working with, is things that the characters and players can interact with in the environment, whether that's beating up a trash can or an old jalopy on the side of the road, or just having things that different wrestlers can interact with that make the experience unique to the characters that you're using.
Yeah, I would say that probably the interesting thing is we actually switched engines. We were actually using the Unity engine for about the first 3 or so weeks. And then, and then Unreal went ahead and dropped this bomb and said, okay, boom, Unreal 4, it's available now for $19 a month. And this is what we're doing with it. We all watched the videos and we're like, oh man, that looks awesome. So we actually it was a tough decision because we had already had some work in Unity, but we made the tough decision to switch to Unreal. So that was a lot of work because I felt bad, throwing away, work basically. Like Matt had built the basics of our first level, and we were basically saying, okay, sorry, Matt, you got to redo that again now. So, but working in Unreal was a godsend, I think, because it was a tough decision, but I'm really glad that we made that because Unreal 4 has been awesome. Like it looks great, and we're not even pushing it as far as it can be pushed. Like there's a lot more that we can do with it, but it's all a matter of learning this new engine, learning what we can do with it, the limitations. And so I think that was also one of the tough things, was that decision to change engines was very tough early on, but it was the right decision, and I'm glad that we made it.
Yeah, well, and one of the things I had mentioned earlier, just about the flexibility we have working, with Rotary Games and working on Rudo Resurrection, is because it's a smaller group, it's a lot easier to make those big decisions. While it was a tough decision, if we were to try to make this kind of decision at a bigger studio, there would be a lot more involved with, making that change. We were able to make the change because the stakeholders are all a half dozen of us, and we were all able to sit in a room and come to consensus pretty quickly. Whereas in a larger studio, making a jump to a brand new engine is a massive undertaking that could take months or even years to actually realize. But yeah, Unreal has been an amazing engine to work with. The new version of it, while it's really, really awesome, it's also very, very extensible. So we've been able to do a lot more with it than I think we could have done with Unity, with the group that we have working on it right now. We're fairly light on engineering experience, and Unity was going to require more of that. And Unreal has just been, everything you see in what we've done so far in all of our trailers has been accomplished through the efforts of designers and artists. Very, very little technical engineering effort needed, which has been awesome.
Cool. I did want to ask you, do you guys have a goal in mind of when this is going to be scheduled to release?
We have an idea. That it all depends on the Kickstarter, obviously. Right now, like I said, we're 33% of the way to our goal. If we don't get funded, then we have a lot of hard decisions to talk about. But we're not ready to talk about that because we have a week left, and anything's possible. We actually just saw. I don't know how closely you guys follow other games, but Harmonix had a Kickstarter for Amplitude, and they were like their goal is I think 750,000, and they were at like 250,000 with a couple days left to go, and they made up like over 500,000 in a couple days. Obviously that's Harmonix. We're not Harmonix. We haven't Rock Band or Guitar Hero, but still, just seeing that was very reassuring. And we have a lot of stuff planned for next week. We're actually we have some virtual events and some in-person stuff going on. There's actually I don't know if you guys have heard of the Squared Circle. It's a bar in Chicago owned by Lisa Marie, formerly of, Victoria and WWE and Tara and TNA. So she runs a bar out in Chicago, and we were actually they approached us and wanted to do an event. So on Wednesday, June 11th, there's going to be a Rudo Resurrection / Chikara event going on there. So there'll be some giveaways. There'll be some cool stuff going on there. So if anyone's in the Chicago area on June 11th, go check that out. Should be pretty cool. We're doing a bunch of stuff next week. We're going to be featured on a bunch of Twitch channels. We're doing our own Twitch stream, stuff like that. But to get back to your question, though, it all depends on that. So if we're able to fund this game, it depends on where we're at. If we hit some of the stretch goals, that's going to extend the development out a little bit more. If we just hit the base goal of 50,000, then it looks like we're probably going to look to release in late 2014, early 2015. That's the goal. And if we get, basically, if we hit all of our stretch goals, which is 350,000, then at that point it's going to extend further into 2015, and it'll probably be more like spring of 2015 is what we're targeting. So it's all dependent on how much money we get, how many features we have in the game, but we have a strong idea of what it'll take. So it's not like, oh well, we'll have it done sometime. Like, we have a good idea of when we want to have it done, and it all depends on that stuff. So like I said, end of this year, early next year. And if we get lots of funding and we hit a bunch of our stretch goals, then it'll extend out a little bit further into 2015.
Cool. Anything? Any final things you want to hit a nail on the head one more time, maybe?
Matt, do you have anything to add?
Just that working in an independent studio has been kind of a breath of fresh air for us. It's something that most of us have all worked in big studios before, so it's a new and exciting experience for us. We want to keep doing this. It's part of why the Kickstarter is up and running. We didn't want to give up on the Boston area as far as game development goes. We want to support it in the area, and this is one of the ways that we can do that. It's a interesting time with everything that's been going on in the Boston area as far as game studios go, but we feel like this region is prime for it. We want to keep it going here, and we're excited about the project. We want to be able to keep working on it. We want to be able to finish the game. So
yeah,
kick it.
Absolutely. This is, even if you're not a Chikara fan, if you're a wrestling fan, if you're a beat 'em up fan, like, this is sort of the thing. Like, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit biased because I'm working on the project, but this is the sort of thing that I'd love to see get out there, because this is helping to support indie wrestling and just wrestling in general. So even if you don't care about the game, helping this to get out there, I think will help, potentially see other projects get made, because the world of wrestling, as far as video games goes, hasn't had the best track record in the last few years, as I'm sure you guys are aware. So this, not only for us to get it out there and to be able to complete the game and put our vision out there, but I think just to help out, like, indie wrestling and indie companies. This isn't just about wrestling. It's it's about an indie game company trying to get out there and basically do this thing. So even if you're not going to play the game, you can go ahead and even just $5 or a few bucks to help pledge to see this thing get made would certainly help us out. And we have a lot of cool things, prizes, rewards, I should say, not prizes but rewards. So take a look through them. It's going to end on June 14th. It's like very early. I think it's like 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 14th. So, if people listen to this, if it's something that interests you, go check it out right away. Go to Kickstarter, go ahead and search for Rudo, and it'll pop right up. And, consider supporting us. If you can't help monetarily, then, get the word out there. Like, if you have wrestling fans or video game fans, just let them know that this game exists, because that's the tough thing right now is we have a cool project and a lot of people are really interested in it, but there's a lot of other cool projects out there, and getting through that static can be difficult, and letting people know that we have something that's worth playing and worth pledging for, I think is important. So if you know anyone out there that would even be slightly interested in this, just, let them know about it, because we don't want to have the hard discussion of like, okay, if we don't get funded, what happens now? What happens to this game? We don't even want to go there. So if it gets funded, it's not even an issue. So hopefully people out there will consider backing it, and hopefully they see something cool in it, and want to support indie wrestling and indie game development.
Cool. One more time, you can check them out: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Kickstarter, everywhere. Rotary Games, you can just, right? Isn't that what you said? Just search Rotary Games, you'll find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you guys, what you guys do is pretty cool. Like I actually wasn't aware of the show until I met Chase a couple weeks ago, but really dig what you guys do, and like hearing you guys talk about wrestling. And I myself am a fan, and I do have some friends that are wrestling fans, but it's one of those things that if now that I'm working from home, I don't have that water cooler thing. I can't go talk to people about wrestling.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's always cool to hear other people talking about it and hear you guys talking about Bautista and Bluetista and
yeah, all that fun stuff. But
yeah, exactly. So I totally dig what you guys are doing, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity for you guys to put us on the air and just talk about the game and hang out with us for a bit. Appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Wrestling and video games is basically my whole YouTube channel, so it's awesome to talk to you guys. I love the project. I love what you guys are doing. I love that you have a passion for wrestling and video games. So something I like to promote. So
best of luck.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, and it was a pleasure to come on the air and talk with you guys. Definitely.
Thanks a lot for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm sure we'll meet up sometime down in the future, closer to release, or maybe just talk off the air too, just talk about stuff. But definitely do want to bring you back on and see how the progress is going with the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you guys want, Tony, Chase, just you know how to contact us now. So definitely would look forward to doing that again.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Awesome.
Cool, no problem. Thanks again, guys.
All right, I want to thank Jesse and Matt of Rotary Games for coming on one more time. It was awesome to talk to them. I like talking to people like that.
It was really nice to get. I love how now we're interviewing a bunch of different people from different aspects of wrestling, and this is a video game company, so I think it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I really love just talking to people that are outside of the, like not just a wrestler. We got like people that make games, all that fun stuff, So it's something that I'm very passionate about. As you know from my YouTube channel, is just wrestling and video games, and it's awesome that we could help promote them. I think it's great. Do you want to kind of let people know some of our upcoming guests for the show as well, since we were talking about guests outside of the
so
YouTube thing?
Next Saturday, which is I believe the 17th, I don't know, we are going to have the Headbangers on the show, the former WWF Tag Team Champions from the Attitude Era, and that we're going to talk about their career and their return to the Monster Factory, because that's where they trained. And then the next week I'll be able to see them in person, and they're doing a seminar there. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome. That sounds great. I haven't even heard from them from a long time, so it'll be a treat to talk to them. I don't know what they're up to these days. You have any idea?
Not really. This is the first time I've seen them in a long time as well.
So are they still doing the headbanger thing?
I'm pretty sure they are. I think they're trying to partner with the Monster Factory now and maybe become trainers there. Like Blue Meanie is now a trainer, Bilvis Wesley's a trainer, and then like Rikishi stops in from time to time. So I think they might just do that.
Oh, cool. That's going to be awesome. So make sure you check that out. Again, support the Rotary Games Kickstarter. All that info is going to be in the description, so you can just click on all those links and support it. So keep tuning in the show. We love you guys listening. Again, we do want to just hit this on the head one more time. We do have t-shirts available, prowrestlingtees.com/TonyPizzaGuy. Again, all that's going to be in the description of this video, so check that out. Make sure you support the show with those wrestling shirts. Chase, you want to sign us out again? Give us your normal sign.
Yeah, there we go. Like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you. Watch it.